Alrighty, welcome back, guys. So we have switched ourselves up from light cycle racing to Derez, which is, I guess, the deathmatch equivalent for this, right?
Yeah, it's basically like your classic Unreal Tournament type deathmatch, except a little altered to suit the Tron universe more. With the funky weapons, like the ball, primitive, and so on. The weird weapons that Tron has, Tron 2.0.
Yeah, so we're on one of the custom maps here, and as you guys can see, actually, yeah, the whole way a lot of things work compared to the base game is quite a bit different. There's actual armor pickups this time as opposed to direct equipables, and as you can see, like the health and energy are just orbs you pick up. They're not things you have to like charge off of like you did in the base game. So they've made it more suitable to the hectic pace of multiplayer.
For the mod, we improved the look of the power-ups. Like before, they were kind of plain looking in a way. They were flat 2D, and we made them 3D for this version of the mod, and we're going to improve them even a bit more for the next version, make them look even better than they currently do. So,
oh, cool. Yeah, so as you can see here, this definitely plays like something a lot more akin to like a Quake 3 or something like that. It definitely feels a lot faster, and yeah, it's about quickly picking stuff up and trying to get the drop on people as quick as you can.
Yeah, this map was created by a fellow who calls himself Zook1, and he's a member of LDSO, and cool. He created this based on the scene in the movie where Flynn and Tron and Ram are in that cave, where they drink the energy from the pool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what this is. This is that cave expanded into a map.
Indeed. And that's what jump into the poison water. Not a good idea. So there we go. Yeah, this is quite interesting. And this is what was cool again about this game sort of being in the Tron universe, is that it was very, it allowed itself the actual sort of canon of the world that you were in sort of lent itself to having really weird, wacky level geometry and stuff, because there was no adherence to sort of real-world geometry or design that was required like there would have been in a lot of other games.
Oh god, I'm horribly out of practice, I think.
Yeah, this one, I played a lot of light cycle racing with the... Oh, bugger. That was a mutual kill.
Mutual kill, yeah.
Yeah, I played a lot of light cycles back when this was retail. I played some of the disc arena and stuff, but not much of it. So yeah, this is the light cycles were definitely where more of my experience lied.
Yeah, that's the case for most people. I think they played light cycles more than anything. This was a late addition to the game. It wasn't originally part of the game when it shipped. This mode, the Derez, it came in a patch later. They added it to one of the last patches. It added the new game mode, so it came much later, and by then already, unfortunately, the game was like dying down. So I guess not many people played it. Oh, secret! I found the secret in this level. Huh.
Oh, nice. So the principal difference between... I'm trying to remember because it's been a long time, but so the principal difference between this and Disc Arena... Was Disc Arena... I'm trying to remember, was that more team-based?
Yeah, Disc Arena was with limited mobility. You're stuck on the rings. You have to jump around on the rings. And if you miss, you can fall and die.
That's right.
And so you can't directly confront your opponents. You have to, you keep your distance and you jump around on the ring. It's like the Discs of Tron arcade game, almost the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you throw the discs at each other. Although sometimes the levels. The platforms, they change. On some of the levels they change, they like disappear and reappear and stuff, so it's like you have to be careful you don't lose your footing and fall and so on.
It's almost like a platformer in that case.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
Yeah, so this is like, straight up deathmatch.
They're more arena, you're more sort of general arena big battle mode, which is cool because this definitely this game lends itself to that without a doubt, but it's definitely something that works. But no, this is really cool, and I still like. It's still. I talked about this. I said this multiple times during my playthrough, but it's I still find it very fascinating how well, and part of it, I guess, is because of the sort of more simplistic base nature of it, but it has always impressed the hell out of me just how good this game still looks, even, 11 years later.
Yeah, the aesthetic, the style of it is kind of, it's hard to believe I'm going to say this, but it's kind of timely, like the simple geometric nature of it and everything, and the flat shaded textures, like there's not much that you can do differently even now if you want to, evoke that style or look, you can
sharpen it up a little bit, maybe, but other than that, maybe add some post processing. But that was kind of the nice thing about this, is the Tron universe was so sort of relied on such simplistic nature that you don't have to worry about texture quality, because it's really just polygons with flat color on them.
Exactly, yeah. So because of that, the interior computer world parts of the game still look great even now. You don't really have to. We didn't have to do much of anything. Like, we didn't improve the textures in the single player game. We didn't touch that. Mm-hmm. The widescreen and the higher resolutions. We didn't actually. A lot of people think we, upgraded the textures and whatever. Nope, we didn't do that. All we did is just let it run in a higher resolution. That's all.
And the real world stuff, like even the non-computer stuff in the campaign, like interestingly enough, and I found this is the case with some of Monolith's older titles, I guess because of the art style they chose to use. Like the No One Lives Forever games still look decent as well. The animation clearly shows its age, but in terms of the actual general appearance of the levels and even the characters, it's still pretty sharp for a game from the Xbox One era, sorry, can't say that anymore. Original Xbox era.
Yeah, great name that they chose there.
I know why, but I was also like, really? Come on.
Right, so now everybody gets confused. Xbox One, what do you mean? You mean the original or
Xbox OG. But it's interesting because I've looked a few times on sort of like some of Giant Bomb's live shows that they do in that when they're playing games from the original Xbox, and you look at that now and you're like, ooh, man, that has not aged well at all. But some of the games like this one and the No One Lives Forever games, I tried out a bit of No One Lives Forever 2 not that long ago, and I look at that and I'm like, you can definitely tell this isn't state of the art, but it looks pretty good. It's it's not
surprisingly,
bad.
NOLF 2 still looks pretty good, even without any kind of like a visual upgrade. Just higher resolution, it still looks half decent.
Yeah, no, it does, which is impressive. I mean, Monolith as a whole is a very interesting company when you look at both the games they've made and their sort of corporate history, I guess, and sort of what they've been through. They were a developer that was always well regarded by their fans, and always did a lot of very different stuff that was sort of atypical of what the industry was trying to do, but they never met. They always succeeded just enough to keep the lights on, but they never really had their massive breakout hit.
Yeah,
and, they've been through a bunch of layoffs and everything else, and then a little while ago they got bought by Warner Brothers, and they've continued to put out some interesting stuff, but they've always just been they've been plugging along, but that's kind of been it, despite the fact that most of what they put out, there's a group of people out there who will speak very highly of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, these days, I know people, again, are going to yell at me for saying this, but I would say that technically Monolith no longer exists. I mean,
its original form is gone.
Yeah,
most people are
still
long
there
gone.
In name. They're owned by Warner Brothers. They're still there in name, but pretty much all the people who made those games that people are so fond of are gone. They're not there anymore.
Yeah, they're pretty much out. I mean, I know we were talking before. I know a lot of the guy behind the No One Lives Forever games, and I guess some of that team and guys who were involved in this have gone on to form Black Powder Games, which put out what was the name of that game again?
Betrayal.
Betrayal, yeah, which is their newer thing, which is it doesn't look like anything Monolith has made, but does look like something they would have made potentially. Like, that's the kind of thing where if that came out of them, you could be like, yeah, I could see that being a Monolith title, but it's again, it's very different, and it's very much its own kind of thing, which is interesting. But yeah, it's because Monolith not only developed a lot of interesting stuff, they actually had, and not a lot of people know this, but I actually have a game on my shelf that I might Play someday. They actually very, very briefly took a swipe at publishing stuff too, and they put out. Well, I have a Septerra Core behind me, which was one of the 2 games they put out, and the other one was now I'm blanking on it. It wasn't Golgo 13. It was
maybe, I don't know.
No, it wasn't Golgo 13. It was another weird. It was like an RPG that had like a weird Russian name in it because it took place in like a communist era Russia or something like that. And yeah, both of that they attempted very briefly to publish with those, and neither of those games I think hit at all. So they were kind of like, well, that was an interesting experiment, and then they stopped doing that.
Yeah, they were their own publishers way back when, but then they stopped doing that and started working for other companies.
Yeah, it's they're a very, very interesting, like there are a few of those developers out there who tended to manage to stick around, in spite of all the odds. They're one. Obsidian is another one, and there's another group like that. By the way, yeah, I saw what you're saying there. We can cycle maps if you want, for sure. Since there's only 3 of us, it might take a while to complete a map.
Yeah, there's a few maps still to go, and then there's the other modes. And I figure we should move it along.
No, go ahead and just cycle it whenever you want. It's no problem.
Because unfortunately, I was kind of counting on more people, so I set the game to advance the map after 10 kills.
Right.
And unless 10 kills happen, the map won't move. It won't advance.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's going to take forever for us to do 10 kills the way it is now. So
wow,
I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
No, that's fair enough. That's no problem. Man, this is... Yeah, unfortunately, we were talking off air when we were switching modes that it looked like there was unfortunately a group of people trying to get in here tonight, but they probably your guess was that they all tried to install this at the last minute and thus couldn't get it set up right.
Right, they all left it to the last minute to install the game and the mods and stuff, and then it's like, oh, I can't get it working, and well, now because of that, they're not here.
I was lucky. I kind of got this up and going. Basically on my first attempt without any issues,
but
yeah.
People are gonna hate me for that. They're gonna kill me.
Okay, wow. This is cool. So yeah, this is another iconic set piece here from the original film that we're looking at here. It's not ow. It actually hurts to stand on it too, as it would turn out. But yeah, no, there's Monolith is one of those handful of developers that either because they were very well run or something else always managed to, despite having a lot of bad luck with projects and publishers, always managed to kick around and is still existing today. But yeah, it was always stuff, because you could never say, some people had opinions on how good some of their stuff was, but you could never say that they came out with something that was uninteresting or just very formulaic. Everything they did, you could definitely tell was a Monolith game, which was very cool. Yeah,
that's something that's very true.
Yeah. So you were saying as well off air that you had more stories of dealing with Buena Vista / Disney / whatever the hell. I'm actually very curious. I'm very curious to hear about some of that, because it sounds like this is much like the sort of history of this game and its developer itself. It sounds like a lot of your efforts to mod this have been kind of done against all odds in some ways.
Oh boy! Again, like I've been saying before, where do I start? Oh god. Okay, let me see if I can try to keep this somewhat concise, because I could go on for hours.
Let me take out the encyclopedia here and.
Right. Yeah, I can't do that. I have to keep this short. So okay, let's see. Shortly after the game came out, like let's say 2004, late 2004, something like that. The community, we approached Disney Interactive and said, hey, we'd like to, mod the game and whatnot. Back then modding was still quite a thing, with games, unlike now.
Very commonplace, yeah.
Right. So it's like, how about it? Can you throw us a bone here? Can you help us out? Do something, because what you've released so far is not very good.
Yeah.
And,
limited, shall we say.
Yeah. Tron is like a... how can I put it? Seminal? I don't know if I want to put it that way. It's
iconic, perhaps.
Iconic? Yeah, I think iconic works good.
Yeah.
It's an iconic property, and people want to mod this game. You know, they want to make their own little worlds inside the game. So how about it, right? So actually, the producer of the game, the guy who was in charge of it, said, "Yeah, okay, let's talk." You know. So I actually talked to him on the phone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and at first he said, "Okay, I'll see what I can do." Basically, he promised he would do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he said he would release, like more editing resources, like more source, if you want to put, not the code, but like the source to the maps.
Yeah, stuff to just make it easier to customize
and models
and
and whatever, and maybe a few more tools. Like not all the tools, most of them were, but not all of them.
Right.
So anyways, so he said, okay, I'll see about releasing more stuff, right, to help you guys out. And well, a few months passed, didn't hear a word. So it's like, oh, this isn't good. You can pretty much tell when you don't hear back that
you can feel bureaucracy creeping up on you.
I think that he tried. It's not like he wasn't trying. It's just I think he made the mistake in the sense of committing when he wasn't sure.
Yeah, he had to check with people first who were like, "You want to what?
Said,
No,
yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do something." And then later on, he went to his bosses, and it's like, "What the hell? Are you crazy? No,
Yeah.
So then but then the thing is he didn't get in touch with us. He didn't get back to us.
Yeah.
I think it's because he didn't want to break the bad news.
Yeah.
He wanted to sort of like forget about it.
Yeah.
So basically, what happened is. I sent him an email. I said, "Hey, what's going on? What's up? It's been months. We haven't heard anything from you." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to give you a call." Okay. So then he called, and then he told us, "Well, things have changed. We're starting up a whole bunch of new divisions within our company. To produce games. We're going to start producing our own games." This is when they started off doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because before they've reverted back to what they used to do. Just licensing the games out. They don't make them themselves anymore now. Right. And that's the way they started. But for, 7 years, they tried to make their own games?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so they just created new divisions. And basically, he said, well, we're starting all these new divisions and stuff, and they're the priority, like you're not a priority.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but you're not going to get anything.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, maybe something could still happen, possibly, and in other words, that means no way in hell.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, we'll talk again, maybe someday. Yeah, of course, we never talked again. Nothing happened.
No.
So that was the end of it, and we were pissed off because.
Yeah. Well, it's annoying when you have a group that, to your game that is whatever you want to call it, relatively niche or whatever, who wants to do stuff to it and just kind of blowing them off. Yeah, it does seem a little
that's what
lame.
Happened. It blew us off. And if they just said no right from the start, it wouldn't have been half as bad. It would have been like, okay, we more or less expected that you'd say no.
Yeah.
But they said yes, and it's like, oh wow, like maybe there's something here. Maybe we can get somewhere. Because up until then, the support had been piss poor, Yeah. So maybe they're turning over a new leaf, whatever you want to say, But nope.
Because this game got how much in the way of official patches? It was 2 or 3, something like that.
It actually got a fair number of patches, but the problem is they didn't seem to test them very well.
Yeah.
Like the first patch was terrible.
Yeah.
It actually broke something in the single player game. If you did a certain thing in the game, it would break and you'd have to start over.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they had to fix that, which they did with the next patch.
Yeah.
The next patch was good, actually, that one. The second patch was good. They probably could have left it there, but then they introduced another patch, a third patch that introduced the death match, the Derez, to the game.
Okay.
But they screwed that one up, too.
Oh.
Because first of all, they released 2 slightly different versions of that patch. So that created huge problems for everybody, because when they wanted to go play multiplayer, let's call one version A and the other version B.
Uh-huh.
If A tried to connect to B, didn't work.
Yeah.
You can only connect from A to A and B to B.
And we should preface here, or not preface here, but we should mention as well that this was not the era before Steam. It was right before Steam existed, and Steam for the first couple of years was really just Valve stuff. It didn't have other things in it. So this was not the era where you bought a game, installed it, and it kept itself up to date. You actually had to go, you know, out to websites to find the patch for your game, and if you had, you know, and it wasn't easy to ensure that everyone always had the most current thing.
Yeah, you had to do it all yourself manually. You had to go find it, download it, install it all yourself.
Yeah, and that's what would cause things like that. So yeah, if they make a foul up like that, where
yeah,
they
release updates back then.
Yeah. So if they release two contradictory versions like that, it really kind of screws the whole thing.
Right, and the worst part is both were bad, both were broken again.
Yeah.
There were certain things in Deathmatch and Derez where if you did certain things again, the game would break. You know, it would stop playing. You'd have to quit and restart.
Yeah.
Like the menu would get stuck. Like, you know, when you go to want to quit or whatever, change game modes or whatever, it would get stuck on the menu and you couldn't play anymore. You'd have to quit the game. It was pretty bad.
Oh, jeez.
So then they had to issue another patch to fix that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they fixed some other things again. And one of them was actually the score that you can get in single player, the maximum you can get now anyways is 10.0.3. That's the maximum.
Okay.
It's got everything. You did everything perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But before they released the last patch, it was not possible to get that score. You couldn't get that. You could get 9.8.3.
Wow. So there was was it that there were upgrade bits missing, or like certain objectives just didn't trigger rewards?
Some rewards for doing certain things.
Okay.
And the official walkthrough guide that they printed for the game, there is one. There's a book which is telling you how to get a perfect score.
Mm-hmm.
It said you could get version 10.0.3, right? It was 9.8.3. There was nothing. There was no way you could get 10.0.3.
Oh, God.
And the players, like myself and some others too, were telling the producer again. We talked on occasion to the producer. We told him, hey, you know, you can't get a perfect score. It's impossible. You know, there's something wrong with the game. You can't do it. And then at first he didn't believe us.
Of course not.
No, we haven't heard about this. We haven't had any reports, you know, whatever.
Well, here's your report.
Well, see, more and more people kept saying it. Like, at first it was just a few people, but then more and more said it.
Yeah.
And then he started thinking, well, maybe there's something to this after all. So he investigated, and it's like, oh, oops.
Oh, bugger.
So they patched it in so that you could get a perfect score.
Oh, that's too funny. Jeez. Yeah, that one I'd forgotten about. When I finished this back in the day, I never got a perfect score to begin with. I didn't in my run here either because I missed some upgrade bits. So yeah, I guess I just never came across that. But yeah, that's pretty amusing. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's a barrel of laughs, I tell you.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting history. I mean, this type of thing was not necessarily. I guess it was not necessarily super uncommon among PC games. There were certainly plenty of games that shipped in worse condition or were less supported, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's definitely. This definitely feels like a game where, yeah, after it came out and it didn't do as well as they wanted, they were kind of like. They were kind of like, all right, they looked after it a little bit, but then they were kind of like, there's other stuff to do now.
Buena Vista Interactive were the EA of their day.
Yep.
Or Ubisoft, take your pick, because now Ubisoft is getting
they're getting the rap for how they support stuff now too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean there was a lot of that back in the day, and that was the problem. This is when, because 2003 was kind of the era where you had a lot of this is a neat environment. 2003 was kind of the era where you had where PC gaming was still going on, but sort of consoles were sort of beginning to dominate more and more and more, and they were kind of and publishers tended to be paying a little less regard to the PC community, I guess, because they just thought that consoles were easier, and in many ways they were, I suppose. Consoles were easier to develop for, but they just kind of, if they put PC games out, they just kind of weren't getting the love and attention they should have in many cases.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Tron 2.0 just snuck in just before that started happening.
Yeah, exactly. They greenlit it before that started to take over, and it was kind of on the edge of that, because obviously we did get, there was a console version of this and things like that, but the PC version was kind of treated as its own thing. But yeah, it's interesting, and it's a bigger problem when you have a company, you know, like how Disney Interactive was then, when they EA has at least always, you know, maintained their focus on video games, whereas you know, Disney could never seem to make up their mind how involved they wanted to be in games. So
yeah, that's I think that's precisely it. That's the crux of it. They're an entertainment company. They make everything. They make movies, they make television shows, animation, games. So they've been in those facets of the business for, you know, who knows how long, decades, you know.
yeah,
I guess Disney's been around since what, the 20s or something like that.
something like that. They're a very old company.
Right. So that's what they've traditionally been strong in. And games were like totally new to them.
Yeah.
And they just didn't devote the attention to it that they needed to.
And I think they wanted it because Disney was so used. My theory always was that Disney was always so used to hit-driven stuff from the, you know, they were so used to having hits on everything that I don't think they necessarily appreciated that games are a hit-driven industry, but that it's not, you know, especially when you're starting out, you know, you may not hit everything right away, and you do have to sort of stick with it for a while and maybe have a couple of things that don't hit until you build up something really well. And the way it always struck me is they would say, we're going to do video games again. They would start up, they would greenlight a whole bunch of projects, they would come out, and if they weren't all smash hits, they'd be like, oh god, what have we done?
You know, I think you've exactly nailed it with regards to Disney and the way they operate, the way they behave.
Yeah.
To them, it's kind of like that motto, go big or go home, you know?
Yeah.
So it has to be a huge hit or they can't be bothered. They don't care.
Yeah. They're used to hit it. They're used to everything hitting a certain way, and if it doesn't hit that way, they're like, this isn't worth our time. And I think that was the problem. Their problem with games is they entered into a space that was, at least for them, was a lot more volatile, and that they couldn't predict a path to success on. So they were just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah,
and it sounds like they're kind of reverting a little bit now. Like they're doing mobile stuff, which is not terribly expensive. So even if it doesn't hit, it's not that bad. They're doing Disney Infinity, which was a big bet, but one they knew from the success of Skylanders would probably do pretty well, and seems to have. And then everything else, they just are kind of like, all right, EA, here's Star Wars. You fund the games and you take most of the risk. We'll just take a cut of it if it works out.
Well, frankly, what they're doing now, this is just my personal opinion, but what they're doing now is just lame, you know, the stuff they're doing these days. I'm sure Disney Infinity is great for kids, you know, but
it's not made for us, you know.
No.
It's and I mean, I am curious to see what EA will do, having the Battlefield guys do a Star Wars game. That could be pretty amazing, but
yeah, it'll probably be very good.
Yeah, I hope so. And
it's not made by Disney.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's the real bummer that I had was that when they bought Lucasfilm, that they canned that Star Wars 1313. They had that looked friggin' badass. And when they announced they were buying Lucas, I was like, well, that thing's dead. And so many guys in the press were like, it might stick around, they might save it. I'm like, no, it's not.
Well, when I first heard that Disney was buying Lucasfilm, I thought it was like an early April Fool's joke or a late April Fool's joke. It's like, really? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Disney's buying Star Wars? Like, you're joking, right? It's like, no, this is for real. It's like, what?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to hear that too. I was like, I figured Lucas would sit on that as long as he could, but yeah, no, he was like, no, I think I want to cash out.
Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense. It's a pretty good fit, and Lucas said as much himself. I think he said that the reason why he sold it to Disney is because of the theme parks.
Yeah.
That way, they can make movies and they can tie it into the Disney World, the park. Which makes perfect sense if you think about it, but still,
it does. It was the kind of thing that, even for as big as Lucasfilm was, it was the kind of thing that they didn't have the means to pull off entirely on their own.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, well, you guys have all this stuff already, so...
hey, by the way, can you come to the tank for a moment? I just want to show you something,
Yeah, sure.
Just a secret on this map.
Okay.
Yeah, follow me.
Okay. Oh! Wasn't that something? That is pretty amazing. Holy jeez.
Welcome.
So yeah, this is tank. That's way cool.
Okay, well, I just thought I'd show that off.
That's pretty neat. Holy jeez, I can't believe they. Wow. Yeah, I can't believe they went to that trouble. That's amazing.
Yeah, this is another map by Zook1 from LDSO. So
this is very cool. Yeah, I really like the fact that there's so much. It's varied, but there's a lot of angles and stuff in here too. There's a lot of interesting places to get to in here.
We tend to throw in Easter eggs in our maps, you know, for fun, for a laugh. You know, there's some secret hidden somewhere if you can find it. You know.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
That was one of them. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure.
Okay, well, I think maybe we can move on to the next map now.
Okay, yeah, no, please go right ahead. This is. I could definitely see. Unfortunately, we sort of touched on this before. We've only got 3 people here tonight, but I do remember, yeah, playing a few. I did play a few matches of stuff like this back in the day when you had a full complement, and it could get pretty chaotic pretty fast, which was always pretty amazing. Oh, okay. So it looks like we've got. A map by the other player here.
My friend here, YCP, he made one of the maps that we're going to play.
Neat. This should be cool. All right, cool. That's good. That's not a problem. I'll go check this out.
Okay, well, I'll move on to the next map. His isn't the next one, I don't think. It's 1 or 2 later.
Okay.
So, and we'll probably, I guess, start moving more quickly through these so we can move on to
Whoa, this one's neat. Yeah, exactly. We can just sort of give people a quick tour of these here. Wow, this one.
Wow, this is his map. Oh, I thought it was later in the rotation. Okay, never mind. This is his map. Why?
This is quite neat.
Yeah, this is very different. This is more of how can I put it? More of a laid-back, relaxed type of map. You just hunt each other in this maze-like map.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, directly confronting each other in the open.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there are teleporters here. Yeah. This is. Oh wow. This is neat. The whole black and white aesthetic is pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah. That's his. How can I put it? His motif. I don't know if that's the right phrase. YCP. He makes most of his maps in black and white and monochrome.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. No, I like the idea because the color is just restricted to the power ups and some of these sort of screens up on the side, but it's very it's very interesting the contrast there. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, in order to really have fun, so to speak, it needs more players. So
yeah, this one's kind of I could see being good
because
for close quarters chaos.
Yeah, we're running around and not running into each other.
Yeah, I can hear your weapon going off, but yeah.
So yeah, that's a problem. It really needs more players in order to to be fun. At least in the open maps, you can see each other and you can chase each other. But here it kind of needs more players.
Yeah. This is neat though. It definitely shows off some of the more interesting elements of this for sure. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, this is one of the most unique maps out of all the custom ones because of the color scheme.
Yeah.
So, getting back to our tall tales, I'm trying to think of what else I could say. So where did I leave off? Yeah, they dumped us like a hot potato.
Yeah.
Then, so then we said, you know what? Damn it, we're going to do something about it anyway, even without their help, without their support.
Yeah.
So in 2005, I started working on what became the Killer App mod. Although back then, it was just going to be like another unofficial patch.
Right.
It wasn't going to be too spectacular or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just fixing bugs and whatnot. So I worked on it for a while, and then I said to myself, you know what? This isn't good enough, really, for people to really want to download it, really want to get it. So I shelved it. I set it aside because it wasn't that compelling. But then a couple of years later, Zook 1, he found a way to create or take the characters from single player and put them in multiplayer.
Oh,
There was only a limited number of characters in the multiplayer. Like they didn't put in very many,
right.
and that was disappointing. The Xbox version got pretty much all the characters, and PC version didn't.
Right.
So it's like, what the hell, right? And then they didn't release any kind of another, expansion or upgrade to bring the Xbox features to the PC, right? So it's like, oh, what the hell? That sucks,
Yeah.
So Zook found a way to move the characters from single player to multiplayer. So it's like, all right, we're, game on again. Let's do something with this. So I resumed the work on that project, the unofficial patch, and added the new characters to the game. And it's like, okay, now what else can we do? How much further can we take it, right? So we kept going and kept going, and then finally, 3 years later, we actually released it in 2008 for the first time, this mod, but we had to withdraw it, unfortunately, because there were problems with it.
Okay.
So, rather than let people download it and then get frustrated with it because it didn't work very well,
Right.
We withdrew it temporarily.
Right.
And then we brought it back again, and it took a couple of years, unfortunately. But we did bring it back with version 1.1, which is the current version for now.
Right.
And not only did we add the new characters, we added new light cycle colors. We added weapons to Deathmatch Derez because they didn't implement all the weapons that are in single player. They left some out, a couple out. We put them in. So now all the weapons are there. We added effects to the light cycles, like now there are like flashing spokes on the wheels, and also gradient on the trail, which weren't there before in the retail game in the original version.
Okay.
They were supposed to be.
Right.
If you look at early trailers of the game, they were there, the spokes and the gradient, but in the final version they disappeared. So it's like, okay, so we investigated that, and it's like, oh, they were there, sure enough, but they left them out. They disabled them for whatever reason,
Yeah, that is weird.
Like, okay, let's put them back. So we did. So we put that back. And well, that's most of it. There's cheats. We added cheats to the game because the cheats were limited. Well, okay, they weren't that bad. There's a fair number of cheats built into the game.
Yeah.
But everybody was saying, "Oh, I want all the gold subroutines right from the start," and I want to max out my character.
Right.
And I want to be in God mode all the time. Like every time you switch a level, you have to type in the God mode cheat again to restore it.
Yeah.
But now with the mod, you can set it so that you're always in God mode. You never have to worry about it. So stuff like that. We added cheats. We added a way to turn off the HUD, for screenshots.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So that's the current version. And then the next version, well, I think I already said it in earlier on during Light Cycles. We've added a bunch more again, like new weapons in Derez, better widescreen. Easier installation, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's quite an exhaustive amount of stuff, which is pretty impressive. And yeah, the amount of time it's taken has been interesting. I do know, I remember the God mode re-enable thing because when I first when I was doing this early on, I did about 2/3 of an episode, and then realized. Partway through that my mic software wasn't working correctly, so I didn't have any commentary, and because of the way because of where I saved it, I had to I couldn't reload back to when I started, so I had to go back to I think it was part 3 or part 4. I had to go back to the start of the game, start over, and make my way back to where I was. And wow. I used God mode for that, and I was re-enabling it each level.
Yeah, there's a way to make it so that it's automatically renews, but oh well.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Well, we've got a good look here. Why don't we cycle on to the next one here?
Yeah, okay, I'll move on to the next map.
We'll grab Whoopsie. This one is pretty cool though. I definitely like the unique idea with this one.
There's like 1 or 2 maps left, I think, and then we can move on to Disc Arena.
Okay. Yeah, we'll give that one. Give that one a good look. All right.
Begin.
Oh, this is okay. Never mind. This is a retail map now that we're in. Unless you want to,
Well, I can give
goof
people a
around
quick
for a
look at this.
minute.
I mean, the retail maps are the retail maps are actually pretty interesting, but at
Yeah.
the same time, they're like this is people are looking at this will probably recognize this is a variant of one of the single player environments
Yeah.
that I recognized very early on. So. And yeah, the retail maps are sort of easy to see. I think the retail ones are good, but I think the custom ones are really where things get interesting and where you see things with their own flair on them for sure. But yeah, this one was. And then this was a common thing in a lot of FPS titles back then, and even now, really, is that a lot of multiplayer maps will be based on. Similar sort of cross sections of campaign levels.
Yeah.
Which is cool in its own way, for sure. It's neat to play in those environments in a different way.
The budget on Tron 2.0 was, as you can probably guess, not very high. Back in those days, especially before they bloated into the monsters that they are now. I think it was like 6 or 7 million or something like that for this.
Yeah,
which like compared to today.
Yeah, which like tiny downloadable games cost that much now. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, they didn't. This was not. Even though this was the caliber of a AAA title back then. $500 million to make and market. This did not take.
Well, that's insane. When I heard about the budget for Destiny, it's like, are you kidding me?
And like, you've got to be out of your mind. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
That is such an and it will probably do very well, but still, the size of that bet is something I cannot wrap my head around.
I
I'm just
cannot
like,
see them making their money back on that, even if it's a huge success. I can't. Well, okay. Let me put it this way: maybe after a year or two, if they're lucky, they'll make their money back, but not right away.
and maybe that's what their bet is on that one. But
That's probably
yeah,
it.
I find that amazing because I mean the few games like Call of Duty makes $1 billion a year, the Grand Theft Auto games make several billion, but you can't point to many other examples beyond that. And it's it's pretty incredible when I heard some of that stuff. I'm just like, man,
That's insane.
The size of these bets are utterly nuts. It's just and yeah, it's a bigger market now than it was back then, but it's definitely the market has not grown in lockstep with the budgets. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's unbelievable. But it was funny, when I was following Giant Bomb during E3 this year, and they were talking about how. They were talking about all the different companies that were at E3 this year, and they're like, yeah, Activision, who is, the biggest third-party publisher right now, was essentially only showing 3 games, which was Call of Duty, Destiny, and Skylanders, and kind of other than that, they don't really have anything else. And I'm like, yeah, that's telling. They're
Exactly.
like, jeez.
They blew the budget on Destiny pretty much.
That's just mind-boggling where that's come. But no, it's interesting. So yeah, we've so we got a good look at this one here. It's kind of funny. This was actually one of the levels in single player that at the time, because of the way I was upgraded, I had some fun bits getting through. I dealt with. I got myself derezed by guards using resin stations quite a bit in this area.
Yeah, this level's kind of tough in a way because they spawn so many of them on you.
Exactly, and that was the problem. And the way my weapons were upgraded at the time, it was difficult to get up in people's faces, but I was also not very accurate at hitting them from range. So
yeah,
that one was an interesting one. But so do we just have retail maps from this point on, or
yeah, I figure at this point probably we should move on to Disc Arena, I guess.
Okay.
We already looked at all the custom maps that were in the rotation, so now it's just retail. Which
okay. Yeah,
well,
retail. The
we'll see
retail
what-
stuff's interesting, but people will. If you've seen my playthrough of it, you have an idea of what a lot of those things look like. The custom ones are obviously a little bit more off the wall, so they're more interesting to look at.
Yep.
But okay, well, hang tight for just a sec, guys, and we'll be right back with Disc Arena. Be right back.